The iPhone 14 is going to be better than a lot of the people think it's going to be, at least according to the current sentiment that's going around, with a lot of different reports saying that the lower end models of this year's iPhone 14 lineup are going to be very disappointing with very little changes compared to the iPhone 13. For example, we're not expecting any big changes in the camera department other than an upgrade to the selfie camera, but on the Pro models, they're going to be getting a brand new 48 megapixel main camera that supports 8K video recording at 60 FPS. On top of that, the Pro models will likely be getting an always-on display mode and a new dual hole punch selfie camera design compared to the current notch design that's going to the regular models. And going even further, it looks like only the Pro models will be getting the A16 chip this year, with the regular iPhone 14 and 14 Max models sticking with the previous A15 chip that we already have in the current iPhone 13. And we just got a new report from the Elec which mentions that the new Pro models will be getting higher quality M12 graded materials for the display panels compared to the regular iPhone 14 models, which will have lower M11 standards, which is a move to help Apple cut costs. So because of those reasons and a few others, a lot of people are expecting the regular iPhone 14s to be a crappy and disappointing upgrade. But in this video, I'm going to talk about some reasons why I think the regular iPhone 14 models will actually be pretty solid in terms of upgrades compared to the iPhone 13 lineup, including Shrimp Apple Pro saying that there will be a performance improvement even despite sticking with the same A15 chip. But before I get into those brand new leaks, I want to discuss the whole A15 versus A16 chip ordeal and why I think it's not going to be that big of an issue this time around. According to Shrimp Apple Pro, who has proven himself to be pretty reliable in terms of leaks, like breaking the iPhone 14 Pro dual hole punch design way back in July of last year, and he has also said back in May that the A16 Bionic chip coming this year will continue to use this same 5nm TSMC N5P process node that the A15 chip is based on right now. Yes, the exact same process. Now, a lot of people will probably be asking, how could that possibly make any sense at all? Because the Android phones that we have right now, especially last year's Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, it's built on the Samsung 4nm process as well as the TSMC 4nm process, which is basically N4P. So why would Apple stick to 5nm with N5P? Well, first of all, it seems like 4nm didn't really make much of a difference in the first place, because if you look at the benchmarks or the tests from GeekerOne on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, they basically called it a piece of crap with a cherry on top, because if you look at this, you have the Snapdragon 888 right here, that's the old version, and if you look at the score per watt, it beat it out basically in single core and multi-core with better score per watt. So it was actually a downgrade in terms of the efficiency. So it seems like the whole 4nm thing was just a marketing stunt, or basically trying to sell it. However, the new Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus is finally seeing some decent efficiency gains with some really impressive efficiency this time around. And that seems like it's because they are now fine-tuning the design and properly optimizing it. So with that said, what if Apple could get the same amount of gains just with a new design and more optimizations on the same N5P 5nm process? Now, as for another reason why Apple chose to stick with N5P, what if Apple planned to make the A16 chip on 3nm, but it was delayed? So that could have been a cause, but honestly, I do not think it's a big deal that they're sticking to N5P, and that's mainly because of the overheating problems that the iPhone has had for a couple of years ago, when it was very, very bad on the iPhone 12 lineup when they introduced 5G, and it did get better with the iPhone 13 series, but the issue is still hanging around. So basically, the chip doesn't have a good way of cooling itself down, with it just having the most basic form of passive cooling. And we even showed you guys that in terms of performance per GPU core, the new 4-core version of the A15 chip isn't much much different than the 4-core version of the previous A14. For example, the iPad Air 4 with the A14 chip scores 10.6% higher than the iPhone 13 with the new A15 chip in terms of Geekbench 5 Metal Graphics performance. So the point that I'm trying to make is that with the new A16 chip, Apple can raise the clock speed that the chip runs at to make it faster, but the problem with that is that the current A15 chip is already vastly limited because of the overheating issues, so making the A16 chip faster isn't going to do much at all for the performance. However, if Apple were to dramatically improve the passive cooling system itself, it would essentially unlock a lot of lost performance that they were missing out on because of the excessive overheating. And that's not even a joke. Just by fixing the passive cooling problems, even the old A14 chip within the new iPhone 14 would instantly outperform the A15 chip within the iPhone 13. And luckily, we've been hearing some rumors from the well-known Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo that Apple is aggressively testing new vapor chamber thermal systems for use in the iPhone, suggesting that the technology will make its way to the flagship iPhone in the near future. And to add further evidence for why it should be ready, Shrimp Apple Pro mentioned that this year's iPhone 14 lineup should come with a new internal design, which basically means a redesigned logic board compared to the iPhone 13 lineup. So why not add in a vapor chamber cooler right now while they're at it? And that basically makes Apple's job a lot easier with this year's iPhones because they can easily reuse the same old N5P process node from TSMC without having to make major changes to the A16 chip and still get a really nice performance boost simply because of the new cooling system allowing Apple to unlock that lost performance from overheating. So because of that, I think Shrimp Apple Pro is totally right about Apple reusing N5P again because it's going to be the cheapest possible solution for Apple, which is important in these inflationary times, and the end consumer won't know any better because the A16 chip will in fact be faster than before and miles ahead of the competition. And not only that, but consumer satisfaction will go up with the new iPhone 14 lineup because we likely won't have to deal with those display dimming issues anymore, at least nowhere near as bad as it currently is. And then next year with the A17 chip, they can finally move on to TSMC's 3nm process node, which will be a lot more efficient. And then as far as the regular iPhone 14 models sticking to the same A15 chip, while the Pro models get the A16, well, Shrimp Apple Pro believes that despite sticking to the same chip, the regular non-Pro models will still have an overall performance boost over the iPhone 13 series, and that totally makes sense, especially if Apple is going to be upgrading the cooling system, which will instantly give it a performance boost with the same exact chip. And on top of that, rumors are pointing to the entire iPhone 14 lineup coming with 6 gigs of RAM this time around, compared to the regular iPhone 13 models that come with only 4 gigabytes right now. So that by itself is going to be a nice upgrade for people who choose to stick with the regular iPhone 14 models. So for all those reasons that I mentioned, I honestly think that the iPhone 14 is still going to be a pretty good upgrade, and it's going to be quite a bit better than the iPhone 13 models that we have right now, even despite sticking with the A15 chip and not getting some of the other Pro features. I think it's still going to be a nice, worthy upgrade. Now, if you totally disagree with me, let me know in the comment section below. But if you enjoyed this video and learned something new, click the circle above to subscribe for more videos like this one, and check out one of those two right over there. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.